Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. Michael here, aka Dr. Mazer. I am a new emergency medicine physician. I recently matched into emergency medicine and just graduated from medical school. So I am heading off to residency. And in this video, I wanted to talk about like 5 or 6 things that I've noticed that you need to be worried about after matching into your medical specialty. So if you just matched or you just graduated from medical school, these are some pretty important things that I would keep on your radar and start working on right away. So the first thing that you guys want to do is find a place to live. For most of us, we have to move away from where we're currently living to go to residency. And finding a place is not as easy as it sounds. One, you have to find a place to live in general. So are you going to be living in a house or an apartment? Are you going to be needing a roommate? Are you planning on buying a home? Do you know much about physician loans? Do you even know how to buy a house? Is it worth it? Is renting, cheaper than buying? So there's all of these things that you need to start working on and worrying about once you match into residency. This definitely was a big learning curve for my wife and I. Obviously, we've never bought a home before, and that's kind of the route that we're taking, is planning on buying a house. And we just thought, it worked out better for our financial situation. There's lots of videos out there comparing buying versus renting as a resident physician. So I encourage you guys to do as much research on that as you can, but definitely don't sleep on figuring out where you're going to live and how you're going to make all of that possible, because you also need to worry about how you're going to get there. So are you guys going to hire a moving company? Are you guys going to do like a U-Haul and do it yourself? How are you going to get your vehicles there? So there's so much that goes into finding a home and where you're going to live for residency. So it does take quite a bit of time and effort. So I just encourage you guys to get on that as soon as possible. The next thing, and this is one of the most important things you need to figure out after matching, and that's your student loan situation, your finances. Because once you graduate medical school, you are now responsible for paying your student loans that have been growing over the last 4 or 5 years. Now, I am not a student loan expert by any means, and this stuff can be extremely complicated. So I really highly encourage you guys to seek out a professional to help you guys figure out the best way to go about your student loans. Which brings me to one of the sponsors of today's video, studentloanadvice.com. If you guys follow the White Coat Investor, like on Facebook or other social media, this is the company that they also recommend. So I met with one of the consultants at studentloanadvice.com, and it was extremely eye-opening and extremely helpful and beneficial. So I highly recommend booking a consult with the folks at Student Loan Advice. And I'll have a link for you guys down in the description below. So if you want to check out their website and see what they're all about, that will be down there. But in a nutshell, it's a 1-hour consult. It's going to cost you about $580, right around there. It's definitely worth it, you guys. That is a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of student loans that most of you guys have, not including the amount of interest that is accruing on those loans. So these guys are going to help you figure out how to pay the least amount in interest, the least amount overall on your loans. And if you guys are thinking about doing the PSLF, or public service loan forgiveness, they're going to help you guys figure out all of the loopholes and the ins and outs of that process. Now, that $580 not only gets you a 1-hour consult, which is more than enough to get started with figuring out your student loans, it's also going to allow you guys to email with them any questions that you have over the next 12 months. So I don't expect you, and they certainly don't expect you, to have all of this stuff figured out in just 1 hour. And that's why they provide you guys an extra 12 months to be able to email them any questions that come up and any things you think need to be adjusted. I don't know, guys, just under $600, like that's literally like one student loan payment for my wife and I right now. It's really not much. So if you guys are concerned at all about figuring out your student loans, especially those people out there that are married and trying to figure out your tax situation, like my wife and I were a couple months ago. They will break down everything. They're going to show you all of the different scenarios, whether you should file separate versus jointly. They will have every single scenario, all of the numbers put on a Google Sheet for you guys to review. And after you guys' consult, they're going to send you guys that Google Excel sheet so that you guys have that for your records, for your reference, so you guys can revisit it, you know, every few months or even every few years. So, you know, I really can't complain about the service that I got from studentloanadvice.com. So if you guys are interested, there is a link in my description. Click that and you guys will be on your way to figuring out your student loans just like I did. Now, the next thing that you guys need to really be concerned about, and I kind of already touched on this, is figuring out your moving situation. So not necessarily where you're going to live, but how you're going to get there. My wife and I are going from Utah to Michigan, which is about 1,500 miles. It's a 22-hour drive. So that's not something to take lightly. So you kind of want to figure out if you need a moving company. For us, we're actually just going to get a U-Haul and do the drive ourselves. But we do have our cars to worry about, and we're actually going to ship them. So we're going to use an auto transport company to ship our cars to our new house. We just think it's the easiest way. It's going to be probably about $1,000 to $1,200 to ship our cars, and then the U-Haul itself is going to be right around like $1,500 or $1,600. So it's a lot to think about. It's a lot of money to move to your residency. I don't know if your residency offers like a moving stipend, so like an extra $1,000 that they'll give to help you guys move out there. Mine doesn't do that, but I do know that there are some residencies out there that do provide a moving stipend, so definitely look into that. And I will recommend that you guys book your U-Haul right when you match, because everyone is going to be trying to move during this part of the year. And it's not just medical students or new residents, but it's people going to undergrad and going to other schools. So U-Hauls will sell out. So definitely book those as soon as possible. And you don't have to go with U-Haul. U-Haul is definitely one of the more expensive companies. There is like budget truck rentals. There is Penske. And I think we actually are getting a Penske truck, which is kind of through Home Depot. So they turned out to be kind of the best price that we could find. So yeah, just kind of shop around and book it, you know, as soon as you can. You can always change your reservation if you find a cheaper price. So the next thing came as a bit of a shock to me, and it's the amount of paperwork that you're going to be required to fill out before starting residency. And every residency is different. Mine requires a ton of paperwork. There's a ton of modules that I have to go through. This is to get your medical license. This is to get you credentialed at your hospital. This is for state licensing. This is to renew your ACLS, your PALS, your ATLS, all of those things. There is so much paperwork that you should definitely not postpone filling out this stuff. It takes a long time, and there's so much of it that you don't want things to get lost in the cracks. So just fill stuff out as they get emailed to you by your program. And this doesn't even include like paperwork that you're gonna need to fill out if you're planning on purchasing a home, which, you know, a lot of you guys are probably considering. That is a whole nother deal. Buying a house takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. Luckily, if you have a good lender and a good realtor, it can be a very smooth process, but that doesn't negate the amount of paperwork that your lender is going to require for your loan. So keep that in mind if you are planning on buying a house. So at this point, guys, you guys should be pumped because you graduated medical school, you matched into residency. You should really be celebrating yourself. And I would recommend getting some new swag. I know a lot of residency programs will get you guys, you know, some scrubs here and there, maybe a jacket or a vest. But I would definitely, go spoil yourself. Figure out if your hospital has kind of like a dress code for physicians, and then go on to Janu, which you'll get 20% off if you guys use my code, and get yourself a new pair of scrubs. Look at getting yourself a new stethoscope, like a nice new stethoscope that you can actually hear stuff with, not like one of those cheapy ones that you used for med school. But invest in yourself. But I did want to mention a super cool new pair of clogs that you guys should definitely look into, and those are the Calzero clogs. So if you're going into like a surgical specialty, you're probably very familiar with these clogs because a lot of people wear them, especially in OBGYN. I saw them all the time on my OBGYN rotation. Podiatry, general surgery, pretty much anybody dealing with bodily fluids is wearing these new clogs. And I did a video more in depth on Calzero clogs that I'll link down in the description. But there's a bunch of things that I really like about the Calzero clogs. One, they're very sturdy. They're not like cheapy or plasticky. They are made from like a nice soft rubber. And they do have ventilation holes. So if you're worried about your feet getting hot and smelly in these clogs, they do have ventilation holes, which are super nice to keep your feet cool and dry during a long day. They also have a nice heel, which really supports good posture when you're on your feet all day and prevents you from getting a lot of low back pain like a lot of surgeons will get over time. So if that's a concern of yours, I would definitely look at investing, into a pair of Calzero clogs. And if you are dealing with a lot of bodily fluids, like, surgical specialties are, they are slip resistant. So that's another nice thing about them. The Calzero clogs come in a variety of different colors. So it is a nice way to kind of stand out in the hospital when everybody is wearing the same thing. And I mentioned this in my other video, but I do recommend getting the insoles that they sell for the Calzero clogs. They just feel a little bit more comfortable with the inserts. But keep in mind, if you get the inserts, I would recommend getting a half size bigger because it will feel a little bit more snug once you have the inserts in. Overall, I think the Calzero clogs are awesome. They're a very fun shoe to wear around. You will notice that your posture will improve and you'll have less back pain. So definitely check them out with my link down in the description with a discount code as well. And I just want to thank Calzero for sponsoring this segment of the video. Now, one of the last things that you should be worrying about once you match into residency is ultimately meeting your new residency class. My little cohort, there's 10 of us. We just started a WhatsApp group chat, and that's been a really easy way to connect with them. We haven't met in person yet just because we're all over the country right now, but I assume that we will end up meeting each other in person once we get to orientation. But there are a lot of benefits to having early contact with your residency class. A lot of you guys are gonna have the same issues, the same questions, and so it's nice to bounce ideas off of each other when things like that arise. The other nice thing is there may be people in your residency class that are from the place that you're moving to, and so that could be a nice way of figuring out the nicer neighborhoods to live in. Where are some good restaurants? So definitely a lot of benefits to getting in contact with your residency class earlier rather than later. I know in our group chat, we already had questions about, did anybody get their medical license yet? Because there are a lot of, like I said, paperwork and things that you have to fill out, and people are going to get things back at different times. And so it's just nice to know if things are working or if you need to troubleshoot stuff. So yeah, definitely figure out a good way to communicate with your residency class, whether that's a GroupMe or WhatsApp, or if everyone has an iPhone. Usually they don't, but just getting on a group text is always good. But yeah, guys, those are kind of the things that stood out to me, once I matched and have graduated. So I wanted to share those with you guys. So yeah, guys, hopefully you found this video helpful in some way. If you did, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in another video.